Hi everyone, my name is Angelka Ducic. I'm marketing director of a company called Symbiotica from Belgrade, Serbia. I'm mostly in charge of digital marketing, and I've been working a lot for the recent few years with startups, trying to get started, find their place in the market, and also helping out a lot of founders to actually crystallize what their idea might be and create their business plan and their marketing plan and their strategy, both for their internal use and for the need to get some investments for their startups. What I wanted to share with you today is actually the story of how to choose the right business idea for your startup. I'm not going to tell you what that idea is. I hope that since you're watching this video and this presentation, that you already have an idea and you're just looking for a validation now. Basically, just wondering if that idea can actually make you some money and if your startup will succeed. So let's get started. First, I want to congratulate you. You have a great idea and you're ready to enter the entrepreneurship world, which is brave. It's not that easy to be an entrepreneur. It comes with a lot of risks, a lot of responsibility, and a lot of uncertainty. And the first uncertainty that you're going to encounter is the fact that you don't know if your idea is actually the right one. Uh, let's start from the basics. Nobody can tell you if your idea is gonna be a success or not. Most of the startups actually fail, so I have bad news for you. And a lot of entrepreneurs actually went through several projects and several different, more or less successful ventures before they actually hit a jackpot. So don't be afraid of failure. It is part of the whole journey. So let's just get in the right mindset before we get started with this. So and start from yourself. So basically, you have a good idea. You think it's worth your while, your effort, your money to actually turn it into a business venture. Uh, let's just ask yourself, is it something that you're good at and know a lot about? It's not a prerequisite, but it's definitely something that's going to help you a lot because it's much easier to, figure out the ways to build your business and, become successful if you already know a lot about the topic, about the niche. You already have an idea like what you might expect, what kind of issues you might encounter along the way. So, are you good at whatever it is that you want to be doing is definitely something that's going to help you. Also, you know, I wouldn't recommend doing this alone. So, of course, you can, but there's a reason why a lot of founders have co-founders with them because it's a stressful journey. It requires a lot of strength, a lot of energy, a lot of money, and a lot of knowledge. So usually the dynamic duos, like the founders and co-founders, is usually based on like different personality types. Usually, you have a founder who's like the, idea creator, and usually a less pragmatic guy, and then you have or girl, and you have the person that's more like into business and can help out with business models and marketing and the budgets and all that, which is something that a lot of founders tend to forget about. Like the fact that you have a good idea is not necessarily gonna just magically start making you money. And which is basically brings me to the uh, point number three. Do you have ways to sustain yourself until your hustle starts making money? So, you have to think about that. Your startup is not going to start generating profit right away. Hopefully, it'll be soon, but you have to be prepared that it can take even a few years to So, do you have that kind of money that's gonna, help you survive, pay your bills, and actually more than that, help you actually build that business of yours while it's, you're waiting for it to start making money? We're going to talk more about money very soon. But for starters, let's just start from this. Like, is your idea something you think you know a lot about? Do you have, help from somebody else? Do you have support, financial and, emotional? And, it's important to be honest with yourself. Are you really that motivated? Like, is that idea something that really drives you? Something that really makes your heart pump, because it's a very important question because, it's obvious. You can obviously see the difference between the founders that are super motivated, super passionate about what they're doing, and those that are only doing it because they think it's going to make them money, but they're not necessarily passionate about their product. And guess who gets all the investments, and who usually succeeds? Those that were motivated and passionate about their product or service. So just think about those things. If your answers are good and you think that you're ready to get started, perfect. Then let's go to step 2, and that is competition. So the question to ask yourself is there competition in my space? And the answer might not be what you expect. Like, you might want to be the only one, but it's actually not always the best solution. Like, are you sure you want to be the only one? If you're the only one, that might mean that you're the first one there, which means that you actually not only have to, establish yourself, but you actually have to like build the brand awareness and actually like build the need of the market for your product or service. So it's a lot of work to actually start something completely new. And ask any inventor from the history of inventions. Most of them died poor because they had a brilliant idea, but before the market was ready to accept it, and before they found investors that were going to help them, and before they tested it all and established themselves on the market, they usually died. So I'm not saying that it's going to be that grim with you, but just think about that. Like, you want some competition, and if there are competitors there, let's ask ourselves another question: are they making money? Because if they're making money, probably you will make money as well. And that means that your idea is valid, that there are people that want to buy it. And, once you establish that, let's now see what makes you different than the competitors. What's your secret ingredient? Why will the people switch over to your product or service? That's the main point. Like, you have the competitors, you have it down, like who the competitors are. What makes you different, aka what makes you better? How will you stand out from the crowd? And standing out from the crowd may sound easy, but actually there's a lot of work that goes into it. You might want to read on the little story about the purple cow. It's Seth Godin's story about, like, when you see a bunch of cows in a valley, and they're all like brown, and you see one purple cow. What do you think? Which cow will you notice and remember? So you want to stand out from all the brown cows and be the purple one. So what will make you the purple cow? Just think about that. So if you actually have a product that solves a need, fulfills a need that exists in the market, what makes you different than all the other people that are doing the exact same thing? So if you have this all down, then you are ready to go to the next step. So, let's see what the next step. So we know who our competitors are. Let's now see who our customers are. So that's a very important question. So who actually is your target audience? Every business needs to have their own buyer's persona, the person they are catering to. So who exactly is your buyer's persona? What do they need in life? What do they want? What do they dream of? What kind of websites do they visit? Do they read newspapers? What kind? What need of theirs are you fulfilling? So, why are you doing this? What's your mission? A very important thing about marketing and, uh, especially with startups, is the fact that, it's much easier to sell something that people actually need and that it's fulfilling a need they have. They might not even be aware of that need. So, sometimes a good marketing can actually like make them aware of it. And then you're there as a savior that, offers them a solution for their newly discovered need or problem. So, are you trying to improve their lives in some way? What problem are you solving for them? Those are the things that you need to ask yourself because those are the main points you're going to be communicating to them. That's going to be in your pitch for the investors. That's going to be in your marketing materials. That's going to be in your tagline. That's what the whole thing is about. So, are you solving a problem for them? Uh, are they how are they solving their problem right now? Like if they already have a solution for it, what makes your solution better? That leads that just right back to the competition, right? So, why are you better? And, how are you making their lives better? So it's very critical for starting a successful business to know who your ideal customer is. It doesn't have to be one customer, it can be different target audiences, but there's always that same answer, what is your, what are you giving them? Like, what is your purpose? It's very important to nail this, especially because this is something that if you're thinking about getting an investment, this is the first thing people are going to ask you, your potential investors. And, you have to be very brief about it. So, there are no like ifs and buts about it. Like, it has to be right to the point. Like, I'm doing this, I'm solving this, these people need this, and, this is my plan. Think about it in terms of an elevator pitch. If you don't know what an elevator pitch is, it's basically asking yourself, how would you present your business? How would you present your startup idea if you were stuck on an elevator with a potential investor? So you have like, these few floors to go down with him, and that's the amount of time you have to present them with your idea and to sell them on your idea and, get their money. So how would you go about that? How would you do your elevator pitch? You're in an elevator, you have very limited amount of time before that very important, very rich person walks out of your life forever. How would you present your business idea? What would you focus on? So, you have to be very to the point, and you need to really have a clear image in your head, clear idea who your customers are. What are you doing for them? What makes you stand out? And, how are you going to go about all of that? So when you have all these things nailed, it's going to make it much easier for you to create an actual business plan and, start creating like your strategy. How will you build your business? But, these are the bases. This is your foundation. If you're asking yourself, is your idea the right business idea for a startup? You have to start with the customers. Like, will your idea have customers? And if so, why would they choose you and not somebody else? And it's never the question of only money. Like, if you just say I'm going to be cheaper than the competitors, it's not enough. So, you need to stand out in some way, or, offer a unique solution or focus on a specific niche that nobody thought about before. So, just think about all those things when you're thinking about your idea. Okay, so now we know what we want. We know who our competitors are. We know that we are physically, mentally, and financially able to get started with, the entrepreneurship journey, and we have an idea what we want to sell and to whom. So that's all good. And now we come to the main question: budget. Show me the money. Where are you going to get the money for all that? Because starting a business and, building a startup from scratch is an expensive endeavor. So here we actually start with one very simple, but actually not so simple question. Are you bootstrapping or are you looking for investments? For those new to the startup world, bootstrapping means that you're basically building your business from scratch using your own resources. Uh, like either like from your co-founders, friends and family, your savings or whatever. And investors basically means that you are looking for investment from either other people, or specific organizations that do help with funding startups, some startup hubs or whatever. So, even like from government. So that's the main question you want to ask yourself. So obviously, when you ask yourself that question in a way that I just put it, you'd say, okay, why would I, use my money? It's easier to play around and to risk with somebody else's money. And that's true. That's definitely true. But also have to take into consideration that once you have investors, they usually ask for a part of your business, usually, quite a large part. They want to have stocks, they want to have shares, they want to have a seat on the board. And they usually have all kinds of rules and conditions under which you can use that money when you need to return it with of course a markup. So there is a bunch of things to consider there. If you want to be completely in charge of your business, the way it develops, the way you're gonna be running it, then bootstrapping is the way to go. If you don't necessarily want to be you want that much responsibility in your life, you might want to consider investments. Of course, this is a much more complicated question that can't be really answered in such a short presentation. And this is something to really carefully consider and think about. You should consult with legal people with legal expertise, people with financial expertise, and just figure out what would be the best solution for you. Of course, you can always change your mind. You can bootstrap, at the beginning, and then once you have MVP, which is basically minimum viable product, or a minimally developed product that you can show to investors, then you can actually ask for investments in like round two. So it really depends on what you want, and of course what your options are, like in terms of like what practically can you do with the amount of money you have or don't have. So but this is something to really carefully consider, and something that oddly enough a lot of founders don't think about that much. That money is a huge question and a huge issue. And you should have, and especially if you have co-founders that you'll be working with, you really all need to be on the same page regarding the financials and the budget and the way you're gonna be building your business, because this can be very problematic as you move along with your business development. So let's start wrapping this up. What are some things to also consider? You should really start small. So as I said, minimum viable product. Always stay flexible. Be ready to adapt, to adjust to the market, to the way your customers are reacting to your product, to whatever is happening around you. Try to find the right people you're going to surround yourself with, both as your co-founders or your management team and the people that are going to be working on your startup. And as I said in the beginning, don't be afraid of failure. It's all part of the journey. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions or you need my help with anything, please feel free to contact me. You can see my contact information on the screen. Have a great day.
Hello, my name is Jelena Plavansky and I am coming from Serbia. I'm so happy and honored that I'm part of African Digital Week, and I hope that my topic will be interesting and useful for you and that you will enjoy. So what I'm going to talk about, actually it's one of my stories. The title is From Zero to Hero, not because I'm hero, I'm my mother's hero, but actually that was something that was first on my mind when I was thinking about topic and the name of the subject I'm going to talk, and why story of my stories. It's really my story, one of the most important, and I really hope that that one will be useful and interesting for you. This is one short intro about myself. I'm actually ordinary girl from Serbia, surrounded with funny and crazy family, a lot of us. I'm passionate athlete and I'm passionate about environment issues. As you can see, I'm here on one of the pictures collecting waste with my friends. Why and how I'm here today? Actually, I am in Serbia, but I can proudly say that I'm globally present. I'm not Einstein or Nikola Tesla, but actually I'm doing some things that are obviously interesting, and I hope that I can successfully share it with you. Where I am now. I'm co-founder and president of Business Angels Association of Serbia. I'm also part of Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Serbia, and that is my local network, but here are also my global networks, WBAF or World Business Angel Investment Forum. I'm international partner from Serbia there and chairperson for 2021. I'm a committee member at International Technology Transfer Network ITTN in China. I'm alliance member at Belt and Road Medical Devices and Innovation Alliance. I'm a board member at Entrepreneurship Association in Georgia. I'm chairperson for Balkan at World Business Angel World Leader Summit, and member at Asia CEO Community. Of course, that is not all where I am. That are not all networks and places, but I'm more active, the mostly active there. Today, as you can see, I'm everywhere. So what does it mean? I have a good network, so I just wanted to share my networking experience with you, because that was one of crucial elements in my professional life, in my growing process. So growing with the network also means that you can grow mentally and intellectually, and that your network is actually your net worth. So how my story started, as I told you at the beginning, I am passionate athlete. So since I was a kid from kindergarten, I started with my sport life, and that sport life helps me a lot to socialize and to accept and deny things much easier. So I was the only woman in my country that was country representative, because this is martial arts, especially full contact or Kyokushinkai is a full contact sport. So you have to be crazy enough to be part of that kind of sport. But I really love it, and I really enjoy it, and my sport is in my heart. So beside that, I run with the Nike Club, and I also go to compete with my colleagues from Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Serbia. How my business journey looks like. when I started the networking, actually I was not aware that I'm going to do networking, but actually it naturally started. So there was no so much social media in that networks in that period. It doesn't mean to be clear that I'm not a dinosaur, but actually I started when I was very young, and networking in that time was something like mountain climbing. It was not easy, especially if you are new in some environment, if you are new in some field, if you are young and do not and don't know so much people. And moving to Belgrade from Herceg-Novi was something hard in my life. I was 18. I was a girl that started going to faculty, and I was a young and small girl in a big city. It was so funny from this point of view, and from this moment it was so funny, but when I was there in that moment it was so hard. There were more bad than good experiences, and I was alone in the big city. From 50,000 people I moved to the city of 2 million people, and I was, you cannot imagine, or maybe you can. But actually, my sports spirit just jumped into my general life and also in my business life, and I really realized that I am not alone, that I have myself. And I was like, okay, why not to transfer my sport elements to my business life? Okay, then start my self-brainstorming, like in a ring. Why self-brainstorming? When you are in a ring, when you fight, when you are punched, or when you are hurt, or something like that, you don't have opportunity to speak with your coach. You have two battles with your competitor, with other competitor, and with yourself. So you have to talk with yourself. And I just realized that I need the same thing in my private and professional life. And there was a lot of questions. It was not just like in the ring, because that technique and the way of fighting was something very familiar and for me, but and also people and all other things. But here was a lot of new moments. And in that moment I started to practice much more, and I realized that I find out my filter that helps me to eliminate all negative things from my life, and I realized that sport is my filter. How it looks like. First, my network was from sports. Second one was from faculty. And when I graduate, I decided to find a job. And it was not easy, especially not in that time. I was denied for I don't know how many times, but there was also always some invitation for interview that was not too interesting, but I told myself that I'm going to accept any invitation because I just wanted to improve myself and to see what is actually good for me, where I want to be, and which is field interesting for me, because I was surrounded with a family that was very passionate about their businesses. So what I learned from them is to find something that I'm really passionate about, just like in a sport. I received the invitation from my friends maybe 2 years after graduate, but I denied to accept the invitation to become a part of that regional Smart Angels network. I decided to do it by myself and start connecting with the people from some networks from present in Belgrade. But there were not people that were good enough for me. I think that there is no any person from that first. Professional networking that are still in my life. But when I realized that I'm doing something wrong, I realized that I have to accept the invitation from my friends Maria and Alexandra. And then I started with Smart Angels, and then I met amazing people there, and to be honest, I had a wow effect because they were so good, positive, non-toxic people, professional, and I was okay. There are people from whom I can learn a lot of things. Let's see what can I do, and you know. In that moment, I realized that there is a mentorship. In that moment, I realized that there is a lot of other books that I should read. That there are some other fields that are interesting for me, but especially in that moment when I was still not defined in my head what I want to be, and then there I met my first mentor. He's a very professional and very successful person. And I realized that, okay, I don't know what is a mentorship, but I will try. Thanks to that person and thanks to that network, I grow up. So it was one of the best things that I did, but after 3 years I realized that I grow up, that I need some other person in my life. So I will always suggest other people try to find a mentor, and when you feel that you are grow up, that there is nothing that you think you cannot learn, but maybe you are not right in that moment. Try to find another person that will give you some other added value, and that will help you to grow up. And then I start working at the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Serbia. Very fast I became a head of Center for Ecology, Innovation and Technology Transfer, and my network start booming. What does it mean? Because of the kind of business, I had to be networked well with people on local and on local level, state level. But thanks to that networks, I was very well connected regionally. And maybe 2 years after that, I received the invitation from China, from International Technology Transfer Network to be there. Actually, my colleagues from Belgrade University invited me to be part of the team, and then I became a part of that ITM community. Sorry. A month after that, I received the invitation from my friend to become a part of World Business Angel Investment Forum, and I just became a part of that global network, and my professional and global story started there. But before that, what is important? When I received that information, I was discussing with my mother, okay, because I never wanted to take any money from my family. I never wanted their help because they were so successful, and my way of thinking, okay, I'm not going to be her daughter or his grandchild. I'm going to be Jelena, what I am now. So I decided to be to create my career alone without their help. But for this, I discussed with my mother, and she told me, okay, Yelena, you have to invest your time and your money. It will be hard at the beginning, but in some period of time you will realize that you have to do this, and you will see results. And her suggestions was one of the best suggestions I received ever. And as you can see, I actually, where I am now, you saw that in second slide, I think. So lessons I learned. Almost 10 years I needed to realize that I have some progress, that I grow up, that I know to do something. Just like in sport, for example, in a sport, after 10 years, I realized that I'm professional, that my technique is good, that I can predict other people with whom I compete, and etc., etc. So all that processes actually needed time, just like this butterfly on the picture. Give yourself time. So, but time is limitless. Don't use it, because don't use it with the wrong people. Don't use it with the wrong network. Please eliminate everything toxic from your environment, because that is not the way of growing. And what I also learned is to say no. Not everything is good for you, just like persons and networks. So you have to learn to say no, and to protect yourself from things that will waste your time and your energy. I learned that I have to change myself. It is not easy process. For example, there are some studies I learned that person that would like to change some habit in life need about 3 weeks for changing. So you have to change yourself if you want to grow up. And remember that nothing happens in a comfort zone. Magic always happens out of comfort zone. So sometimes you have to feel fear. You have to be brave if you want to step forward and to make some progress. I also learned that mentorship is a great thing, but not every person is for you. So think about mentorship, but choose smart person from which you would like to learn and hear something. Be up to date with education and information, and the point that you are here, that you are part of African Digital Week, actually show that you are ready for your growing process, and that you use digital era in the best way, and that you are ready for networking. And I'm so happy and proud to see this, because I told you at the beginning there was no digital platforms, social media, social networks in my beginning. So use it as the best as you can, and the much more as you can. Make your life easier. And what are my messages? Choose smart people, choose smart your network, choose smart your job, eliminate negativity, keep going and keep growing. Your network defines you and your way. Just like in my case, you shouldn't think about my case, but think about people around you, and you will realize that I'm a bit right about this. Focus on your priorities and your goals, and use and enjoy in digital products, but never forget to enjoy in your life, because if you lost yourself, you will lost everything. Remember, okay, you can earn a lot of money, but you can you can never get your money in other life. You know, we have one life, so enjoy it and prepare yourself for the futures. Don't be surprised, because there will be a lot of surprises in the future. And this is my real mentor, my mother. I would like to thank you, and I really hope that my presentation was interesting for you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Hello, and good afternoon from sunny Los Angeles, which is where I am right now. I hope that you have been enjoying your time with European Digital Week with the Women's E-Leadership Conference. I want to welcome you to my session, Fast Track Your Product Strategy. A little bit of background on myself before we get started. My name is Yuying Chen Win, and I am currently the VP of Product at a company called Age of Learning here in Los Angeles. Now, I've been in a product role for more than 20 years now. I actually got started right out of college into Microsoft, the Windows team, the heart of everything at the time. So, and in my career, I've spanned B2B, B2C, mobile, SaaS products in the pure tech play, fintech, and edtech, which is where I am today. And in terms of markets, my product strategy has focused on US markets, Asian markets, as well as European markets. Okay, a note about the content before we dive in. We have about 20 minutes. So this is really not enough time for a detailed training on how to develop product strategy. If you're looking for a much thorough end-to-end training on that, I do highly recommend looking up some of the more formal training courses. There's quite a few offered on the internet. Now, what we are going to cover today is some of my learnings and recommendations on when you have a time crunch and you need to do a fast delivery of an iteration of your product strategy, how to be efficient about it so that you're really spending the time on what's the most valuable. Okay, that's what we're going to cover today. Okay. I want to start with defining what product strategy is. Now, at the top of the spectrum, we usually have the product vision, which is really the long-term vision and value for your product, the why. Why does it even exist? Now, if I take a more of a personal example, I could have a vision of I want to see the world so I can understand the difference and similarities between cultures. Okay, that is very much at a vision level. Now, on the other hand, one of the things that we hear a lot about called product roadmap, which sometimes does get confused with product strategy. A roadmap consists of usually milestones, specific tactics, release schedules, very much the what. Okay, so if I go back to my example of I want to see the world, my roadmap probably consists something of specific times of when I will travel to specific places, how long I'm going to stay, how will I get there, what I will do when I am there, etc. Right? So very much the what. Now, the strategy sits between and connects the long-term vision, the why, to the what, the specific execution. It really focuses on the how. You're making a decision about an approach that you can take to accomplish your vision. And, you know, other companies, other products could take a different approach. So if we come back to my example of I want to see the world, one strategy could be I want to be very time efficient about it. So I can take an entire year off from work as a sabbatical, start in one country and simply go one after the next to nearby countries, until I've come all the way around the globe in a circle. And I've done that in 1 year. Very concentrated in time, probably causes a lot of other logistical issues if I choose that specific strategy. And there's constraints in terms of what I can spend and constraints of how I get from one place to another. Okay. Now, I can take another strategy, which is maybe a lower risk one, but a lot longer in time for implementation. Let's say I just take my annual holiday of 2 weeks to a different country for the next 20 years, right? I would still have my full-time employment. It's probably lower risk because I'm not struggling for how to pay for my 2 week trip in each of these situations. But how long it takes me to realize that vision, very, very different. Each of these is a particular strategy that I can choose. So the thing I will always say is, unless you made a very clear decision about doing things one way versus another, you didn't pick a strategy. If somehow it's, we will do everything at the same time, that's not a strategy. You do need to make a decision before it becomes a true strategy. Okay. All right. Why fast track? So just to be clear, in my mind, a product strategy is never done. It's never final. There are only iterations of product strategy that fits the conditions and the resources in the market as of right now. So what I'm talking about is, of course, usually there are some time-sensitive either milestones or decision points where we need to do an iteration, either an update or a pivot or a realignment of the product strategy to meet those specific timelines. So these kind of events, a couple of different types. One is very money driven. So if we're deciding on investments like purchasing of major infrastructure or possibly an acquisition target that we've been eyeing versus just a normal yearly cycle of financial planning, these can be very time sensitive and strategic events involving a lot of money that we want to see an iteration of a product strategy to make sure that we're aligned, that we're making the investments in the best way, and that the money is there for what we need. The second one, of course, is around people. Now, sometimes you meet someone that would be a great hire, a strategic hire, let's say a head of engineering or a director of product management, or an investor comes to you and want to invest in your company. Now, these type of people investments, you actually want their background to align with your product strategy to get the most value out. If you're taking, let's say, an AI strategy, you want someone with that kind of background and track record or connections that can really leverage that, and it can greatly increase the chance of success of your particular strategy, right? Okay, the third kind, pure survival due to market changes. Competitor entrance is one of the ones I watch out for, and I've worked with a couple of times. If you have a major competitor coming in that is well-funded, has an existing high-value brand, or coming in from an adjacent market as has an already established dominance, right? When you have a very strong competitor entering your segment hard and fast, you have to pivot as fast, if not faster, then they can begin to take position within your segment. Secondly is the one that we all have been dealing with, right? Massive market condition changes like regulatory changes or policy changes, or the pandemic shutting the world down and changing suddenly how every kid learns and goes to school and how everyone is working or what is able to be worked on. These kind of changes requires an iteration of the product strategy, and the faster, better you can do it can mean a difference between survival, thriving, or dying. Okay. All right. So how do we fast track? How do we spend what little time we have um, on the best focus? Okay. Start with the end in mind. It's one of my favorite quotes from Stephen Covey, who is, of course, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Now, in our particular scenario, that means the end, right? Your iteration of product strategy. Who is it for? Who are you going to communicate this to? Who's your audience? Who is going to have to spend extra money for this strategy? Who is going to have to do extra work or less work? Who is maybe going to have to change their strategy, how they work, or even the size of their team, right? So this you have to understand and find out from the very beginning. But most importantly, in terms of the fast track piece of this, my advice, find your most important stakeholder. It's not necessarily always the one with the money, but this is the one whose agreement and disagreement can send you back to the drawing board. Identify this person and keep as close to them as possible. Talk to them about your ideas, your pivots, your decisions, your options. If you can do a daily check-in, even if it's 15 minutes, do it every day. You want to go into your product strategy presentation with this person knowing almost as much about the strategy as you do and is already on board with it and is your supporter and not someone that you're trying to persuade in the meeting itself. You gotta trust me on this one. I've learned the hard way. Okay. Next, how is it going to be presented? Now, I've done so many different variations. There is reading documents sometimes where you literally putting together 20 pages that gets circulated, that gets read, comments and feedback comes back, and you're not in the room. That requires a very different amount of work and very different types of content to be put in. This is the one where I do spend quite a bit of time on my terminology, on my formatting, on my editing, because you are not in the room. And then when you know you have to do that, you got to save your time for that. Group presentation. This seems to be fairly common nowadays. Used to be in person, now more virtual and over Zoom a lot of times, right? That one, what's nice about that one, of course, is you're presenting, it's interactive, they can ask questions, you can clarify, you want your presentations to look great. You don't want too much text because you don't want them to be reading it, you want them to be listening to you, right? That changes what you put in the presentation versus what you have in your notes, etc. Or I've done ones where it's just a one-on-one chat. There's one important stakeholder, and whether that person says yeah or nay, that's it. Not even any slides. You just need to very clearly be able to articulate your main idea in 30 seconds and answer their questions, right? You prepare for each of these so different. You have to know what it's going to be. More importantly, find out if there's a previous successful one, okay? Get the example of the actual presentation. If there are written documents, if there's a PPT, if there's a document, a Word document template, you want to get the successful example. If not, find out who did it. Talk to that person. Ask them for their recommendations. Ask them to take a pass through yours. You want to start on success. You do not want to get rat-holed in a format that people are unfamiliar with is the other one. If it's a format people have seen before, they know what they're going to look for. You spend a lot less time trying to explain to people where the different pieces of information is. And secondly, now this one, I'm going to follow me a bit, you want to start writing the end presentation from day one, even before you gathered any market data. Okay, You got to listen to me carefully. I'm not saying write the conclusion without supporting data. What I'm saying is write the end story and how you would frame it with the type of information that you would use to support your strategy, so that you know exactly what you are going to highlight, what you want to highlight to support your strategy, and then you focus your research effort on just that. Okay, that really tightens your scope to, in the end, what will be directly presented. Because remember, you're short on time. Okay, this is a great way to be focused on the right things. Okay, now my slide is slightly so. Okay, we get to the key contents of the product strategy. Now, this is my way of phrasing that makes it, I think, easier to comprehend in terms of the components of a product strategy. Fundamentally, it is the product, and the product definition has to include who is it for? Who's your user? Who's your buyer? You got to remember both. They're not always the same. Who is it for? What's their goal? What's their problem they're trying to solve? What's their pain point? That is what you focus your offering on in terms of specific product, right? Okay. That is the product piece of what we call the product market fit. Okay. Now, why will they buy? That is fundamentally your value proposition. Okay. Now, there's a couple of different ones, but we'll take the cost one as an example because it's very simple and straightforward. Your product offering, your value proposition is simply, it's cheaper than a competitor. Okay, very clear why they will buy. Now, how can we win? So if you're just offering it cheaper, but it's lower than cost and it's gonna make you lose money and the company's gonna go under, probably not a great product strategy. The how we can win piece sometimes is done through what we call the differentiating competency. Is the advantage that you have that actually allows you to achieve the value proposition better than your competitors, right? Especially with cost, you can lower it, they can lower it. Why is it that you can do it better and win? For example, let's say you have total control of the majority of the suppliers for the components, which gives you better negotiation power, so you can actually lower your own costs lower than your competitors can, and therefore you can offer at a lower cost. The competitors can't match unless they're going to lose money over the long term, and that is the how you can win. So for me, the key components of the product strategy is who is the product for, what is it that you're selling, what is the value proposition that causes the user to use it and the buyer to buy it, and why is it that we are in the unique position to be able to offer that value proposition better than our competitors. Okay, that is what I consider to be crucial components of the product strategy. Now, you will notice I didn't have market potential or effort sizing in there. So I will say that from my perspective, I never do this during the strategy phase. Those things are so volatile and it changes so much based on what your actual product is and even how you state your value proposition as you test into the marketplace, that I don't do that at a strategy stage unless it's absolutely required. There are a few cases where they do want to see high level market and revenue potential and high level effort or investment needed to decide whether they're going to move forward in a strategy. Now, I only included in that case, but even in that case, what I do is I t-shirt size and I relative size. You have to understand that the exact numbers at this stage is very much just a finger in the wind, right? But what if they're making investment decisions or hiring decisions or what have you, what they want to understand is what this is relative to something else. If you have an existing business, I always anchor it around the current business. Is the potential bigger? Is the potential smaller? Is the potential 30% of the current? Is the potential 10x the current? The effort, right? Always anchor it relative to your current. Is it minimal? So you can just get it done without really much change in headcount. Does it require major investment, meaning you're going to need to build new teams, you're going to, major infrastructure and process changes. If you don't have existing to compare it against, small, medium, large, that's what it means by t-shirt sizing, but you have to make some kind of definition for what small, medium, large means that's meaningful for your industry. So I can't even tell you that small is always going to mean the same thing across industries. If you're in hardware industry versus if you're in SaaS versus you're a social app versus you're publishing, small can mean very, very different things. Okay, that's number one. The second one, of course, when I present product strategy, there is a specific ideal strategy that I am presenting. But you have to know that when I develop, I always develop options. I never only develop one product strategy, the one that I'm presenting. I usually have three, easy, medium, hard. Whichever one I'm pitching is particularly the one I'm rooting for at that moment. But the advantage of having these options, at least in your mind, what the key differences are, is that usually when you're presenting, there are some concerns that come up. There's some constraints that come up. And these options are a really great way to have that back and forth discussion. And you can resolve within one meeting, one discussion without this I need to get back to you on that. I haven't looked at that possibility. This is may not be the easiest thing to do, but I highly recommend it, even at a high level, back of the paper napkin for whatever strategy you're presenting, to have a less risky option, a bigger, more audacious option. I always have, I tend to present the one in the middle, but you don't have to. So I do recommend this quite to get you through a successful iteration and alignment around your product strategy. Okay. All right. So hopefully those were all useful and helpful for you. I am open to, of course, to answer questions through LinkedIn if you have very specific questions or specific scenarios, etc. But thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Again, my name is Yuying Chen Lin. I hope this was useful. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Lauriane Ainsworth, and today I'm talking to you all about how to find your niche, how to rise above chaos and find fulfillment. Now, before I jump into the presentation, I just want to tell you about who I am. I am a mom of two. I live here in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, and I'm a speaker, a trainer, and I'm the CEO of one of Richard Branson's nonprofits called the Branson Center of Entrepreneurship, where we support businesses to grow and entrepreneurs to grow both as business leaders and their businesses. So today I want to talk to you about finding your niche, because once upon a time, I was in search of my own niche. And in the process, I burnt out quite a bit trying to manage being an entrepreneur, being a consultant, having children, and doing work that mattered to me. And during my burnout, I had to stop everything and I had to reevaluate what mattered most and how I was going to continue to do work that was meaningful, that used my strengths, and that allowed me to thrive in life and business. I'm still on my journey, but I'm sharing with you what I found and how I've been able to support other coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs to do the same. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get into the methodology. All right. Here we go. So find your niche, how to rise above chaos and find fulfillment. So before we start, the first thing I want to do is share with you a statistic. Only 20% of the global workforce are engaged in their jobs. This is the statistic from the Gallup 2021 Workforce Survey. Now, I found this to be very interesting because this means that 80% of us who are working around the world globally are unhappy and unfulfilled. Now, why does this matter? Why does this matter to you? Why does it matter to me? Well, it probably should matter to us from at least two perspectives, at least. One, from a people perspective, people are stressed. People are stressed out. People are anxious. People are feeling depressed. People are burning out. And this is where I had reached to. I wasn't happy in my work. I was feeling depressed. I was feeling anxious, wanting to achieve things that I wanted for myself and my family, but I wasn't getting there. And I was working harder, doing more things, better, faster, trying to do all the things. And I burnt out. And this is where a lot of people are in the world. This was affecting people's family lives. It was affecting my family life. If you have a family and if you know people who have families and they're feeling these effects of not doing work that they love and is feeling depressed and burnt out, it's affecting them at home. It's affecting your extended family. It's affecting somebody who you know. From a business perspective, of course, this affects attrition because if you're running a business, you're a part of a business, people are leaving and there's this constantly vicious cycle of hiring and rehiring because people are in the wrong fit, not doing the work that they love and not being a right fit for the company. And this can affect you too if you have a small business or if you are running your own business. This affects productivity. Productivity is down, of course, because if we have so many people who are not engaged in the work that they're doing, that means that they're not really involved. And this is going to show in their work, right? So we're seeing low productivity because of this statistic. We're seeing this affecting company culture. So people who are running businesses or starting businesses, or even if you have a team, no matter what size you are, trying to create a culture around what it is that you want to see for your business, for your whatever it is that you're doing, is going to affect your company culture. It's going to affect your team culture. And of course, this is all going to affect revenue. This is going to affect our bottom line. It's going to affect business coming in. It's going to affect the clients that you're supporting, the customer service. All of this gets impacted because people are not engaged in the work that they're doing. Now, although this is true, I believe that we all want the same thing. All of us as human beings want freedom and fulfillment. This is my belief. People want to wake up every day excited to take on the day, excited to do work that matters to them, using their strengths to serve others. We want to know that at the end of our day, our lives matter, that the work that we do matters. But guess what? Most won't attain this. Most people who are working in this world or live in this world won't attain that because they're in survival mode, because they are living a life that does not allow them to move forward and do work that matters to them. So what keeps people in this mode of just existing? Because that's what survival mode is. When you're in survival mode, you're just existing, you're not living, right? So why do we stay in this mode if we all want the same thing? Well, I believe it's because of these two little things called chaos and confusion. Now, chaos and confusion live in our lives all the time. They're there. We can't get rid of them. But some people know how to rise above chaos and confusion while others don't. The majority, that 80%, most of that 80% are living amongst chaos and confusion, unaware of how to navigate them. So when you are living with chaos and confusion, you're likely feeling stuck. You're not sure where to go because chaos and confusion keep you from moving forward. Chaos and confusion don't give you any focus. So you're confused, and things like having shiny object syndrome, right? You have all these ideas and you want to accomplish things, but you're not sure which direction to go. So you stay stuck, because what chaos and confusion do is, even though the options are there, you're so confused that you choose no option. So again, you remain stuck. When chaos and confusion are in your life, you are reactive. You're not proactive. You take what life gives you. That's what chaos and confusion do. And that's why people stay in survival mode, because they're reacting to their environment. They're reacting to what life gives them. Instead of taking a hold and being a proactive player in their lives, they're being reactive to what is given to them. An example of being reactive is like taking a job or a consulting contract or a client that you know is a wrong fit for you and your team. But you do it anyways because it brings in revenue. You're taking what life gives you instead of choosing. And that is another example of when we're in survival mode. We can be in survival mode in our life and in our businesses and in the work that we do. So how do we rise above chaos and confusion? How do we navigate this confusion in our lives? I believe it's finding your niche. I believe that when you find your niche, you're able to rise above chaos and confusion. Why? Because when you find your niche, you get clarity. Clarity is the antithesis of chaos and confusion. When we have clarity, we have direction. Clarity is a heart of action. Clarity is a kryptonite of chaos and confusion. When we have clarity, we know what we need to do. So I've been talking about finding your niche and why it is that finding your niche gives you clarity, but what exactly is a niche, you might be asking? Now, most people will have a particular definition. It's the most common definition, and likely even in being in the events industry, there might be a particular niche that you have. And if you're defining niche as a distinct segment of the market, then that's the most common definition. But when you take this definition, it's really taking a bit of a narrow view or a narrow perspective of what a niche can be or could be. And what I want to do today is broaden your perspective of what a niche is and can be for you in your business, in your event planning, in whatever role you're playing. So when we look at the dictionary, and this is sourced from Marketing for Hippies, it was a really great resource. But when you look in the dictionary and you look at what a niche is defined as, a niche is a place or position suitable for a person or thing. To find one's niche in the world or an ecology, the position of function of an organism in a community of plants and animals. Now, when we look at this definition, we realize that your niche is so much more than a market segment. A niche has another definition, and this is what I like to call your niche in life. So your niche in life is your place in the world. the position that you take up as an individual to be the most value to your community. A niche in the marketplace is what we've been defining as a niche. And that's where you position your business. That's where you position your products and you support someone. So there are two definitions of what a niche is. A distinct segment of the market, that's a definition for your business and the work that you're doing. And it's also our place in the community. Now, I believe that we've been doing this niching thing all wrong. I believe that most people end up in that 80% of people who are unengaged in their work because they have not looked at this diagram of finding your niche first in life and then finding your niche in business. You see, what we've been doing is finding our niche in business, finding a job or finding, something that we're doing and trying to fit our niche in life into that. And I'm going to explain why it is I think that happens. So if you look at this diagram, I have 4 S's. I call this a 4S framework of self-awareness, strength mastery, significance, and service. Now, when we talk about creating a business or the work that we're doing, most people start in the service bucket. This service bucket is a who, what, and how. Who are you serving? Your target audience, your target segment. What problem do they have that I can solve? And how can I solve that problem with a service? That's where most of us start. That's where most entrepreneurs, consultants, and coaches start, with the service bucket. But they've completely ignored the other 3 S's, the self-awareness, the strength mastery, and the significance. You see, those other 3 are what make up your niche in life, that place where you fit in the world, you as an individual. And then extend that niche in life to your niche in business, that place in the market where you want to position yourself. So today I'm going to talk to you about how we can look at those other 3 S's and then look at the service piece. So our first S is self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is all about you. It's all about your personality. When you have self-awareness, you understand the best environment for you to thrive in. When you understand the best environment for you to thrive in, it means that you are going to be able to create boundaries and set yourself a great foundation to be the best that you can be. An example of this would be your personality. Looking at your personality is going to give you self-awareness or help you on your journey towards self-awareness, because everything is a process. This whole thing is a process. And that's what I really want everyone to understand, that when you go through this niching exercise or this niching methodology, it's a process in being intentional, giving yourself grace, and really looking at yourself through a different lens. Now, when I started with self-awareness and looked at my personality, I started to understand a little bit more about me. I started to realize that I am a creative person. I liked creating. And if I wasn't in an environment that allowed me to create, I was really not my best self. If I was in an environment that was a little bit too detail-oriented or didn't allow me to express creativity on a regular basis, then that would not be the best environment for me. And when you have self-awareness, it means that you are also able to discern the best environment for other people once you start understanding personalities and what is best suited for personalities. And this extends to your team, people who you're working with, whether your team is full-time or outsourced, or people you work with, your clients. Understanding self-awareness and personalities will for sure ensure that you have better relationships, because you are able to understand the best environment for you to thrive in, and then that allows you to have emotional intelligence to understand the best environment for other people as well. So one of the best ways to do this is start by doing personality tests. Now, I did not love doing personality tests. I didn't think that a test could tell me who I am. And they're not there to tell you who you are, but they're there as tools to support you to understand more about yourself. One of a great test that I love is called, it's with the Entrepreneur Institute, and Wealth Dynamics Genius Test is all about understanding what type of entrepreneur you are and what environment is best suited for you and your strengths. That's a great one. There's so many other personality tests. There's a via character, which is another great test. And of course, there's a Myers-Briggs 16 personalities test. I would encourage you to do as many as you can and start doing a lot of self-reflection and start looking at, are there any insights that you can glean from what these tests are telling you about yourself, and see if they're true. And what's going to be really important when you're doing self-awareness is to be very kind to yourself, because sometimes it's not easy for us to admit things about ourselves. I didn't want to admit that I wasn't detail-oriented. I always thought I was, until I started doing these tests and it started telling me that, you know, you actually aren't very detail-oriented. And then I was like, oh yeah, you know, I actually am not. And I actually had to come to that awareness and acceptance about myself so that I could accept the things about myself that were true. So it takes a lot of acceptance, and it takes a lot of insights. So that's self-awareness. And self-awareness is there to support you to have the best environment for you to thrive in, and for you to support your strengths, which is the next S along our path. When you know your strengths, then you will be in a position to leverage these strengths on a daily basis so that you're showing up as your best self. When you have the environment to support your strengths, that's a winning combination. So let's talk a little bit about strengths. So strengths, I call this your zone of genius, right? This is something that was coined by Gay Hendricks from The Big Leap. The book is called The Big Leap. Now, in The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks speaks about 4 zones, and you may have heard this already, and I'll go through them very quickly for you. The first zone is the zone of incompetence. That's essentially the stuff that we're not good at. We all know what we're not good at, and we usually stay away from the things that we know we can't do, right? So we stay away from stuff like that. I'm not a rocket scientist. I would never go and do rocket science, obviously, because I'm not qualified, but it's not my strength. And I use that as a very broad example. The next one is the zone of competence. This zone is where you can do something, but there are probably a lot more people better at it than you. It's very frustrating doing the things in this zone because you probably have to keep relearning them. You don't remember how to do things very well in this zone, although you can do it. An example of this would be, for me, I can do a WordPress website, but it's going to take me probably 10 times longer than someone else who's qualified and who this comes a little easier to them. I'm likely going to be going to YouTube all the time, checking to see how to do something, because I just don't retain that information. It's not a part of my strength. It's not something that I do all the time. But once I watch that video, I'll be able to do it. It's going to frustrate me in the process, but it will get done. So that's the zone of competence. And a lot of people who are starting their businesses stay in this zone quite a bit, trying to bootstrap and do things themselves. But it's not a very good use of our time when we're in this zone. The next zone is the zone of excellence. Now, this zone is where most people spend their time. This is likely the thing that's paying you right now, and it's probably a skill that you've honed over time. The thing about this zone, though, is that it doesn't bring you any joy. This zone is a zone that you still have to work at, and you probably do get burnt out doing this kind of work. Even though you're good at it, you're probably great at it. It might be tiresome for you. It doesn't give you energy. It takes energy from you. Your zone of genius, that's the zone we really want to talk about, because that's where your strengths lie. Your zone of genius is the hardest zone to figure out, because something that comes so naturally to us is so easy that we think, oh, this is second nature. Many people can do this thing, right? Not true. But one of the tricks to finding your zone of genius is thinking about your way of problem solving and thinking. Now, this is something that I heard from Laura Garnett from her book, Zone of Genius and Genius Habits. She speaks about how to find your zone of genius by tracking your activities and your time and seeing what activities give you energy. What activities are you doing that time seems to fly by? That you get in the zone. You know, when you're in that zone, it's like you're doing this work. You could do this for hours. Time is just flying by and it feels really easy and natural to you. Now, when I figured out what my zone of genius was, it started to click to me why it is that I was interested in different things, because I was using the same problem solving and thinking to do these things. Now, my background is in marketing, and I used to love strategy time, where I was able to take the company's big strategic ideas and their goals and break that down into the marketing strategy. I love taking big ideas and confusing concepts, pulling them together, making sense of them, and then simplifying them so that we could take action. So my zone of genius really became taking confusion and creating clarity, simple steps that people can actually take action on. And I use this in the work that I do now. I use this in my coaching and my training and the work that I do with entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's supporting them in creating a strategy. Sometimes it's doing project management and looking at all the pieces of this big project, pulling them together, and then making action steps that simplify the process so that we can start moving forward. So when we think about our zone of genius, it's not about finding something to pivot into or change your career path or change what you're doing, but rather, how can you start doing 70% of your tasks in your zone of genius? How can you start shifting the work that you're doing so that it resonates with your way of thinking and problem solving? There's going to be that 30% of the time where we're doing work that's not in our zone of genius, and that's a part of life and the process. But as long as we're able to spend most of our time in that 70%, it means that we are doing work that's in service to us. All right, so our next S in the process is significance. Now, some people call this your purpose. Some people call this passion. But I found that those two words were just a little bit too all-encompassing for me. I needed to find something that was easier for me to grab onto and sink my teeth in. So finding something that mattered to me in life, or something that was significant, was important, because when we find work that aligns with our strengths and we have the right environment for it and the environment to support our strengths, it doesn't mean that we're going to find the motivation to do the work unless it has meaning to us, unless the work that we're doing is significant. And when we find what's significant, most times it comes from our wounds. It comes from our pains. It comes from something that we overcame or something that someone close to us overcame, but we had an emotional connection to it. Now, this might be a type of person. It might be a problem that you overcame and you can offer a solution to it. But the point is, when we find work to do within our field, it needs to have meaning. And looking back in your life and figuring out, what did I overcome? What mattered to me? What do I hate? That's a very interesting part about significance. It's not necessarily that passion thing that you're passionate about doing that makes you happy, but it's a more, what's that thing that I really want to see changed in this world? What really, really gets under my skin? And can I offer a solution to that? Because when something bugs you that much, you're going to have drive towards changing that thing. And that's when it moves into our service bucket. That's where we move into creating a service. Because when I started and we looked at our service bucket, we spoke about the who, what, and how. All of this now plays a role. Maybe it's the who, maybe it's somebody who was close to us that we want to support. Maybe we want to support, if you're a mom, a single mom, or if your mom was a single mom, maybe you want to support women's movements. Maybe you want to support events for single moms. That's just an example. Maybe it becomes the problem. What problem do you want to solve? Maybe it was a problem that you experienced that you want to now support and solve. Maybe it's how you were able to overcome that thing that you want to now offer into this world and create a service out of it. So you see, when we're able to look at our niche in life, looking at creating an environment that's right for us and for our team to thrive in, looking at our zone of genius and our strengths, and using that to solve a problem that matters to us, then we've created a service, whether it's a job, whether it's a business, but you can now offer this service and be of service to your community. Now you can now position this in the marketplace. So why does this all matter? All of this comes down to when you look at doing work in that service area first, it takes more time, energy, and resources to find the motivation. That's why so many people in this world are doing work that they're not engaged in because they haven't looked at self-awareness. Is this the right environment for me? Am I doing work that's really positioned for me and it's allowing me to be my best self? Am I doing work that is using my zone of genius and I'm allowed to grow and become the best me using my strengths? Does this work have meaning to me? When we haven't found these three, it's going to take that much time, energy, and resources to fit those three things into that service, into that bucket of work that we've found ourselves in. But guess what? There's a book called Drive written by Daniel Pink, and he found that the way to find motivation is the same as finding your niche. So when you find your niche, you find the motivation to do the work, which further explains why it's so important to find our niche in life first. Or if you are doing work, to explore that niche and figure out, how can I fit this now into the work that I'm doing? So Daniel Pink found that there were three elements of motivation. First being autonomy. He found that when people had autonomy over their lives to do work that they want to do, to work with people that they want, and to create an environment that's best suited for them, then they have autonomy. And the only way to know what environment is best suited for you and the people you want to work with and the work you want to do is by having self-awareness. Because if you don't know what you want, then there's no way for you to create that. There's no way for you to have autonomy over it. So we need self-awareness to have autonomy. The second element of motivation is self-mastery. Daniel Pink found that people wanted the ability to be great at their one thing, to find greatness, to master themselves. When you find your strength, when you find your zone of genius, and you can create an environment that allows you to work 70% of your time in your zone of genius, then you will be on your way to self-mastery. Another element of motivation. And he also found that the third and final element of motivation was purpose. When you have purpose and you're driving towards something that has meaning to you, you're going to find motivation. And this is what I call significance. So when you have these three elements of autonomy, self-mastery, and purpose, you have motivation to do work. It means you now are engaged in the work that you're doing. Your team, if your team has autonomy, self-mastery, and purpose, they have motivation to do the work that they're doing. This is so important if we're going to change the way that people are doing work and are engaged in work, and you're creating a business and a life that matters to you and that will allow you to have freedom and fulfillment. So I ask you, what would happen if we found our niche in life first? What would happen if we started looking at business, at our work that we're doing in a different way and supporting ourselves by looking at our niche in life and then our niche in the marketplace? I think that we would have a lot more motivated people, we would have happier people, we would have businesses and jobs that are more sustainable because people will have the motivation and the drive towards doing work that they love, that matters, that uses their strengths, and that's of service to their community. Thank you so much for your time. You can always find me at laurianneainsworth.com, where I talk more about how to find your niche. I'm on Instagram, Laurianne Ainsworth. And of course, you can always email me at hello@laurianneainsworth. I thank you for your time, and I hope that you continue to enjoy this conference. Take care.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lan Golan, and I want to talk to you today about building your personal brand. Okay. And the way I got into this is I was very successful. I was leaping in my career from engineer, technical sales, and product management, all the way to vice president, technical operations, huge operations and growth. But the minute I wanted to leap to entrepreneurship and I started going to investors, I realized I was actually a nobody. They were Googling my name, they were looking at my LinkedIn, and they could see nothing. And it was actually hard for them to absorb that I actually am the same person that I claim to be, that I've built this amazing thing. It was hard for me to get them to trust me that they can actually put an investment in me because I will take it to the next level. And I realized that I'd made a huge mistake because every awake hour, I was building the company that I was with. I was building their brand, not mine. And even though it's true, it's good to build somebody else too, but you also want to remember yourself. Build your own brand. Stand up for yourself. What do you want to be known for? And we'll talk exactly how to do it. Because once I've done it, and I started being on stages and speaking and in Forbes and Yahoo Finance, and I can go on, that's when I started leaping for real. Not small, mediocre roles and, another 10K, 20K, no. Real leaps. Being a CEO, started my company, sold my company, started a venture capital, write for Forbes, public speaking, build a business for 7 figures in 2 years, and I can go on and on. Because once you have a personal brand, it changes everything. And I want to talk to you about that and how to create one. So how do you build your personal brand? The very first thing you need to think about is, what do I want to be known for? What is it? Is it as a leader? Is it an expert? Is it a technical guru? Is it an inspiration, a motivational person? What do you want to be known for? And you need to be really specific. And every single person that hears you or think about you needs to think about exactly the same thing. Because your personal brand is who you are when you're not in the room. What kind of opportunities do you want them to bring your way? What kind of things do you want them to think about you when you're not in the room? What kind of recommendations, what kind of introductions do you want to get? What kind of opportunities and doors opened, right? So what do you want to be known for? And here's the catch. Because then you need to tell your story, not according to who you are now, but according to who you want to become next. And this is where it's tricky because you want to be very clear about where you want to go next. And to make sure your story is not about that manager that you are now or that director that you are now or whatever that title is. You want to tell your story according to where you want to go next. And every single person that hears the story needs to understand exactly why you will be incredible for that next thing, why this is now the time to introduce you to that new opportunity, right? It needs to be so clear, okay? So how do you do that? Your story is that combination that makes you special. It's that combination of expertise and skills and strengths that make you unique. And you can include your strengths and your skills and what's interesting and what other people are intrigued by you and things that you accomplished and you won or overcame some really hard obstacles, because that is your zone of genius. And when you start telling your story with all these components according to where you're heading, that's when people start understanding why you, right? But it's not just about the words that you're going to say. It's a lot, or even mainly, about how you say them. And the key here is confidence. Now, confidence will have 3 pillars. That's how I see it. The very first pillar is your clarity. I can't stress it enough. If you're not crystal clear about your message, where you're heading, what do you want to be known for? Who is your audience? Who are you talking to? If that's not really clear, it's not going to work. Those conversations, interviews, speaking opportunities, all of this is like a mirror. If you're not completely clear where you are heading or who you are and what's your message, it will come right through and you're never going to get it. So clarity is key. If you're not sure if your next career direction is maybe sales, maybe business development, maybe small company, maybe big company, whatever, it's too confusing. I can't open those opportunities. You're not building your personal brand. You're just becoming a red flag, right? So you have to be really, really clear what it is that you want to be known for and where are you going next. And then it's about competence. You're just going to need to practice and practice and practice. Because honestly, we're not used to telling our story. We're not used to telling a lot more than just our title. So you're going to have to really practice this message to make sure that you're conveying the right message. And then it's about the core. How do you stand? What do you look at? What are your eyes and what does your arm do? Are they in your pocket? Are they like shut? What do you do? How is your stance? Are you standing in a position of power? Your voice, your shoulders, your chin. And when all of this is aligned, what does your voice do? All of this is confidence. And when you have your confidence and you have your story, this is where you can start building that personal brand. And when you build that personal brand, there's no magic. There's no magic wand. Okay. It's going to be about your consistent message and doing it again and again. But here's the catch. One of the most important elements is to really understand your audience. Who is your audience? Are these students or kids? That's a completely different audience. Maybe they want TikTok, some short videos. They need some certain, it's going to be a different message. Maybe they're CEOs, very different way, maybe LinkedIn, super, professional look and feel, et cetera, et cetera. You have to understand your audience. If you're trying to get to everybody, you will get to nobody. Who is your audience? Who do you want them to see you? Which opportunities do you want to come your way? All of this needs to be clear. And then you're going to have to be really consistent with your message. And you're going to do it again and again. It's not about one post or one article. It's about being consistent with your message wherever you go. And according to where you're heading, right? You're going to post often. You comment on others. You're going to amplify others because that's what leaders do. You're going to inspire people because that's what leaders do. You're going to give value. You're not going to consistently sell yourself. That's not building a personal brand. You're going to give value and sell your expertise and your confidence. That's very different. And one of the most important rules, done is better than perfect. You will never have the perfect post. You will never have the perfect article. You're going to do it and you're going to move on because that's key. Okay. Now, the truth is that most people, when they think about building their reputation, so now that you kind of know your message, you know your audience, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. I want the world to hear me, right? And most people, all they think about is social media, posts, comments, that's it. The truth is there's dozens of ways to build your personal brand and to build your reputation. I'm just going to talk a little bit about it. We dive really deep in Career Leap about it. But here, I just want to give you a taste because there's a lot of ways to build your brand. And yes, some of it is social media. And again, that goes back to where your audience is. Kids, TikTok. Teens, maybe Instagram, whatever, like YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we can go on and on, right? Specifically for professionals, definitely LinkedIn is key. You definitely want to go there, right? Maybe community building. You want to be perceived as somebody who knows how to build a Facebook group or communities around the world. Maybe some one-on-ones will help you build that reputation as somebody that can really help in certain vertical. Webinars, so easy these days. Bring a few people into a webinar, give them value, and you're going to be considered a rock star, right? Maybe volunteer to different things. You can, volunteer to be on a board. You can volunteer to help others. You can volunteer to, whatever, to help businesses or communities or individuals. And then basically present yourself as somebody who can do that and start building that personal brand. And maybe you're going to mentor, or maybe you're going to advise companies and startup accelerators or whatever. And maybe you're going to train or write blogs, or you're going to do some group coaching and then, build your brand this way, or maybe content marketing and speaking engagements, and maybe write a book, and maybe get some awards, and maybe some media. And I can go on, and podcasts and whatever, you name it. And guess what? You're never going to build your reputation on all these vehicles. So all you need to do is really think, what do I want to be known for? Who is my audience? And which 2 reputation vehicles I want to implement right now and focus on them. And once you do that smart and consistent, you will have a personal brand. It just works. And that personal brand will take you to the next level and will help you reinvent yourself, tell the story that you want others to hear, and leap again and again and again in your career, in your life. It will build that reputation, impact, pay that you want for yourself. It will build you the freedom to choose what is the career that you want for yourself. So I ask you today, who are you? What do you want to be known for? Who is your audience? And what is that small step that you can make today to start building your personal brand? Thank you for listening. I want you to enjoy the journey. And if I can ever be of help, you can find me at ilanagolan.com or info@ilanagolan.com, or on LinkedIn or on Facebook. And I want to wish you lots of luck. And I hope you had a ton of value from this session today.
Hi, my name's Janice Sutherland, and I'm delighted to presenting to you From Invisible to Invincible, this art of strategic self-promotion. So a little bit about myself first before we kick off. Who am I? As I said, my name's Janice Sutherland, and I am an award-winning women's leadership development expert. I've had a professional career spanning over 25 years with a number of prestigious multinationals in the UK and the Caribbean. I was also the first woman to head up the telecom sector in my adopted countries of Antigua and Montserrat. As I said, I'm an award-winning executive coach and leadership development expert. I'm also the author of This Woman Can, the No Bullshit Guide for Women Who Lead, and the host of This Woman Can podcast, where I interview women and on their leadership journeys. So let's kick off and let's start talking about the art of strategic self-promotion. Well, why the need for it? The modern job market is as dynamic and complex as ever. And even without the jolt of the pandemic, the digital transformation demands that we are continually adapting to ourselves and our careers, the changing industry, consumer and workforce trends. And our survival in this environment means that we have to stay relevant. We have to stand out from the competition. And that's the way we're going to ensure our future career success. It is all about self-promotion. So in today's masterclass, I'm going to offer you tips on how to self-promote confidently and effectively with some self-brand management and strategic storytelling. But first, I want to start off with this word, humble. Yes, humble. The definition: having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's importance, inferiority, subservience, etc. I refuse to be humble. There, I said it. I actually refuse to be career humble. And quite recently, I interviewed 2 very successful female leaders for my podcast. And we discussed the fantastic strides they'd made in their respective careers. And each of them described how humbled they felt to attain the levels they had. And I really queried why. They had both worked incredibly hard and continue to do so to achieve their respective positions. So why the need for humility and the need to diminish their accomplishments? If I'm honest, humility is not one of the traits that comes easily to me or I'm comfortable with. I'm a glory girl. I've said it. I'm a glory girl. I will stand up and accept the recognition for my achievements. My career grew up in sales environments with the pressure of targets and the adrenaline rush of hitting the same or winning a huge account. And I can recall many weird and wonderful tactics used to motivate sales teams, from all-inclusive holidays, monetary bonuses for top performers, to the threat of unemployment for poor performance. That was it. But in these environments, the thing that stood out in these environments was that the playing field was equal. Same target, same resources, and irrespective of whether you were male or female, it was your numbers that counted. The bragging rights were really, really sweet because it's all about your performance. Then as a CEO, as I moved to a CEO, your commercial performance was equally as important as your performance as a people leader. And it really was a feeling I never want to lose. And yes, after all the work I'd put in to land that account, deliver the EBITDA, the recognition was sometimes worth more to me than the bonus. And throughout my career, it's that recognition that continues to be my personal motivation. And I discovered the power of self-advocacy during an interview for my first managerial role, my first leadership role. And I was asked the question, why should we offer you the position? And it was really easy for me to give the response, and my response was, you won't interview anyone better than me than me today. Confident that I had the skills and could totally back it up. I had become comfortable using my achievements as evidence to drive my ascension, comfortable utilizing my strategic brag. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with gratitude or humility, but sometimes it's masking our ability to take ownership of our achievements that we've worked hard to achieve. And the question here is, why do we feel the need to diminish our accomplishments? Why do we feel that need? And I'm totally cognizant that a lot of women have not been exposed to similar environments, sales environments that I have. And through a variety of teachings, we have been taught to value humility, to stay small and blend into the background. And society in general says that women should not be prideful, brag, or boast, and that this can be damaging for women in their careers. But we need to ask the question again, why is self-advocacy or strategic self-promotion so important now? Well, it's simple. Times have changed. You developing your career brand really is an exercise in self-marketing. You have to ask yourself a number of questions. Whom do your unique skills, strengths, expertise, and knowledge serve? And why? Why are they important? What perception do you want to create of your reputation? What do you want other people to think and feel about you? And how will you communicate that? And we have to take charge of our own career brand, which includes what Simon Sinek calls the human skills, or otherwise known as soft skills, and our emotional quotient, our EQ, and things that empower us to influence the way prospective employers or clients perceive us. And how you market that brand can pave the way for your future career opportunities. Because let's face it, no one can advocate for you better than you. So how are you going to shine the light on what you bring to the table? How can you promote your work and experiences without feeling sleazy and in a way that puts your point across? Enter the art of strategic self-promotion. So there are a few steps I'm going to share with you today on how you do that and how you do that confidently, competently, and comfortably. Now, the first thing you have to do is adopt a CEO mindset. You have to be proactive in your career development and direction and confidently own it. You are the CEO of your career. And as such, you're 100% in control of your actions, your choices, your career trajectory. Whether you're seeking promotion, new job, or a client, or making a career pivot, you are in control. And in your career lifespan, or in our career lifespan, professionals will likely have 7 to 10 jobs quite easily across our lifetime. And navigating your way through those roles, identifying new opportunities, requires you to actively self-manage your career brand. Strategic self-promotion is about putting yourself in a position of power and creating an action plan that you can execute to keep yourself there. It's about how people perceive you. And if they view you as someone who puts themselves in that position of power, that's obviously a great look. So the first thing you need to do is adopt that mindset and know that you are in control of your career. Number 2, you have to create, communicate, and control your narrative. This is really important because your future career success relies on your ability to tell a compelling story of what you do and who you are. And I know this can be a challenge for some of us who have portfolio careers or side hustles unrelated to our main professions, or maybe for freelancers who offer a range of services. And when thinking about the narrative you want to portray, consider your future career goal and how you can tailor your skills, experience, and strengths to align with that goal and the brand you want to have. It's an exercise I did myself as I rebranded myself from corporate CEO to women's leadership consultant. And there are a few things to keep in mind when you look at your brand messaging. You want to highlight your personality and soft skills. You are far more than the sum of your hard skills and experiences. Are you a great listener? Are you a natural problem solver? Are you a presentation savant? Are you the person who makes your colleagues laugh? Embrace those soft skills, those human skills, and personal attributes as powerful points of differentiation. Then remember, connection matters because humans connect to people, not skills. It is totally acceptable and encouraged and empowering to bring your authenticity, your personality, and your power to connect with people to the table. Think about how Oprah connects with her guests, whether in interviews or with an in-studio audience. And then promote your leadership through storytelling. In the context of your career development, leadership storytelling is a powerful part of your self-promotional plan. It uses smart storytelling to elevate your career brand and positions you as a credible, trustworthy authority in your field. Perhaps you'd like to inspire a change in your industry or demonstrate and reinforce a desired behavior. Ideate and craft a brief career stories, smart and shareable articles that you can share that are based on a single idea or a takeaway, or publish on your LinkedIn profile. This is essentially content marketing for your career. Impactful leadership or career storytelling is not just about sharing great information that reflects your core values. It's also your vehicle for influencing, thinking, and creating that emotional connection with your prospective employers or clients. And don't just rely on your resume or CV. Communicating your career brand happens on many touch points, many spheres, each with its own value. So there's your resume, as I said, your cover letter, maybe you have a personal website, and your LinkedIn profile. So think of all those places that you can actually tell the story and portray your values and who you are. Third, get comfortable talking about your results and really get comfortable with this. Get your brag on. Have you led a team to success? Have you landed a big account? Have you closed a difficult negotiation? Completed a big project on time and under budget? I could go on, but you really get the idea. When you attain a significant result, don't wait for your annual appraisal, your half-yearly appraisal to be recognized for it. That's far too late. And in sales, we were always reminded that you're only as good as your last sale. So you need to be recognized for what you've done in real time, and as much real time as possible. Send your manager a brief email, outline the result as soon as it happens. Now, I know I can hear you kind of get a bit uncomfortable and bristle. And I know this doesn't come easily to everyone, but bear in mind that self-promotion isn't actually about you, isn't actually about who you are. It's about the impact of your work. And that's not something you really want to hide. And you can also think about it this way. When you look good, so does your boss, and so does the company. And sharing the results won't just make you look good, it'll make your manager or your leader happy too all the way round. Number 4, erase your internal profile. Does your organization have an internal newsletter, an intranet portal, employee meetings, recognition awards, a vehicle that reports employee news and successes, just like what I talked about before? Learn how the results in your organization are made public and how accomplishments can add it to the agenda. Maybe you just need to speak up and share your latest project at a team meeting, or submit an article to the newsletter editor. Now, obviously here you want to be selective, because not every achievement or wins deserves airtime or a big shout out. But if in doubt, seek guidance from your boss, a mentor, maybe a longer serving peer first. Try asking, was I thinking of sharing how we landed that major account from Atme Limited in the company newsletter? What do you think of that idea? The point is, you don't have to sit and wait for someone else to publicize your accomplishments for you. You can actually take ownership of that, and you need to be in charge of that. Number five, become the fountain of knowledge, also known as the in-house expert. Unless you plan to never leave your current organization, you should also be developing your external brand identity. And an easy start is be cognizant of how you're perceived via your social media presence. So be strategic on LinkedIn, Twitter, maybe even Facebook, anywhere you're connected with professional contacts, and use those platforms to communicate about what you want to be known for. I'm talking about your work, not your Saturday night club appearances. And I can't say enough about how these platforms are the first line reference points for recruiters. In the real world, you can promote yourself as an expert by writing or speaking about your expertise in industry publications, and websites often need contributors. So check out the guidelines, the ones in your field, and propose a topic or submit an article. Online knowledge portals such as LinkedIn, Thrive Global, and Medium are all great places to blog your knowledge. And if you get the opportunity, don't shy away from giving a presentation at an industry conference, maybe an online webinar or seminar, or be a guest on a podcast. Be proactive. Contact the organizer of prospective events and propose a topic that you'd like to present on. Be proactive about it. Number 6, build your own custom network. Now, we all know as women the power of the old boys networks and their ability to help each other advance their careers. Now, you certainly don't have the time to recreate a network hundreds of years old, but you can create your own network. You can create your own web of relationships with like-minded people. And whether it's 10 or 50 women, consider how you can create or foster a group that's dedicated to sharing resources and help each other succeed. I started doing that when I created my own online community, This Woman Can. And within the group, we regularly share information about the challenges and successes that female leaders face, with the goal of helping someone or each other become visible leaders in our respective organizations and fields. We meet virtually to share ways to promote ourselves, as well as promoting the achievements of one another. And developing a strategic network of relationships now will bring you long-term career benefits, both for you and your fellow participants, your fellow networkers. And yes, hard work does bring success, but if no one knows about what you're doing, or you're not going to get those opportunities you want. You need to make those awesome results visible, make them really, really visible, and don't be shy about it to those who can impact your career. So you need to get up and at it, because there are new rules in town. So I'm giving you a snapshot there of, the things you can do to strategically promote yourself. And to get you started, I'm going to ask you one question to get you started. What can you unapologetically say you are proud of for yourself when it comes to your career? And that's something you need to think about. That can be the start of looking at your your portfolio and how you self-promote. Now, if you like what you've heard, and I'm sure you have, be sure to connect with me. We can definitely connect. You can email me info@Janice Sutherland. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook as I am Janice Sutherland, or you can visit my website, janicesutherland.com, to learn more about what I do and how you can join the This Woman Can community.
Hello, and thank you for being here for this webinar or a short masterclass about LinkedIn, about this huge business platform where you can connect, you can connect with your ideal future client. My name is Colette Elting and I'm an online visibility business coach. I coach female entrepreneurs how to become online visible based on the program I developed, COVA, which is based on 3 pillars. It is strategy, technique, and inspiration. And one of the points that I use in this visibility coaching is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a beautiful, beautiful method to get in touch with people out there, even in these days of restriction with COVID-19. I will take you through the world of LinkedIn in this webinar. I will give you tips how to connect with your ideal client and how to make sure your profile gets as professional as it can be to attract those clients. Very welcome. I hope you can learn a lot, and I will do this with my enthusiasm as always. A little bit more about myself. My name is Colette Elting. I'm from the Netherlands, a beautiful country in Europe where I have my company called Comma Online Marketing and Communication. I'm a brand Colette Elting, as you will see along the webinar. I have my own company already since 15 years, and mainly I help female entrepreneurs starting to shine, starting to let the world know that they have beautiful products, they provide beautiful services, and how they can grow their company by being visible. Because when you're not visible and no one knows you, no one will buy from you. And that's what's it all about. And of course, you have a lot of techniques, etc. And I figured them all out and I teach them to, the female entrepreneurs here. So that's a little bit about me. I live in the Netherlands, of course, the tulips and the mills and my beautiful kids and my husband in the southern part of the Netherlands, near Germany and near Belgium. That's where my life is. And this is what I normally do. I teach, as I said already, entrepreneurs to be online visible. I do this as well offline as online. And these are some pictures of the offline training when allowed to sit together. I'm also one of the leading business women in the area I live, and I connect with them in some offline business events, of course, and not at the moment, but I really hope soon we will do it again. Let's talk LinkedIn now. LinkedIn is really one of my favorite, no, not one of them, it's my favorite social media platform. And why is that? And it's all comes back to the mission of LinkedIn. It's connecting the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. And that's what's happening on LinkedIn. People are sharing their knowledge for free. People are sharing their visions. People are sharing connections and try to connect all day. And that is what will make you more productive and more successful, because connecting to people makes that people know you and people start buying from you. Is that so? Yes, that is true. That is so. What's it all about? Let's see. LinkedIn has more than 645 million profiles. This means that more than 645 million people are on LinkedIn. 2 new members every second. And just for some figures, 23 million LinkedIn users in the UK, 16 million LinkedIn users in Australia. Unfortunately, I did not have the numbers of Africa. I'm sorry. But what this is all about means that your target market is here. There is someone out there on LinkedIn who is interested in your products. But what if they don't know you? What if you're not there? And as I always teach my clients, be there where your client is. And is your client on Facebook, then you should promote yourself on Facebook. But is your client on LinkedIn? And I really think there is someone who wants to buy your product or service on LinkedIn. And the question I always ask people, are you just on LinkedIn or are you really using it? Statistics show that less than 1% of the people that have a LinkedIn profile are active on LinkedIn. Active in the way of posting, telling about their work, telling about their products, and it's all about soft selling, but I'll get back to that later. Or are you really using it? Start using it today because you will make a difference. Think about that. If you are not active on LinkedIn, and this is a major investigation of HubSpot. HubSpot is a huge social media and online bureau. If you don't know it, just Google it. And they said you are missing out on 80% of your business leads when you're not active on LinkedIn. You don't want to miss that. You want to connect with these business leads of yours. Gary Vee, maybe you know him, it's one of the biggest influencers on online marketing, said this is going to be the year of LinkedIn. It was 2020 last year. And it's the time to double down on this platform. LinkedIn is where Facebook was in 2012. What did he mean with that? He meant with that, and he still is, that your organic reach on LinkedIn is huge. It's huge. It's so much better than all the other social media platforms. In 2012, you had a huge organic reach on Facebook, but nowadays you have to buy your reach. It's almost impossible to get a huge reach. And huge reaches that I mean that hundreds and maybe thousands of people do see your content that you're sharing. This is what's happening on LinkedIn right now. The posts you put out there are seen by a lot of people without paying. So if Gary Vee says so, and his predictions always come true, you make sure you're there. Get out there. That's what I'm telling you. I'm going to say it a lot of more times. 50% of the buyers, and we're talking business to business, but also business to consumers, say that their buying decisions are influenced by what they read and see on social media. It might not always be that they right away think, oh yes, I have to buy something or I have to contact us. But later on, through a process, they see and they remind you being there, telling about whatever you want to sell. Just think about this. 50% of the buyers say they are influenced. Can you be in that stream of influence? That's the question. If you want to grow your company, you should be in that stream of influence. What do you share then? What do you share on LinkedIn? Knowledge. The best way of people to get to know you and know that you're an expertise in your field of work is to share knowledge. Because then they know, okay, she's telling something. That makes sense. She must know a lot about this. She's an expert. I need her when I have to something, blah, blah. Stories. Tell about all that is happening in your business life in a way of telling stories. Hard selling is not what we do on LinkedIn. No, we just take people by the hand and tell them about what's happening, tell them about the training. I told them I was going to give a webinar here about LinkedIn, and that means in a soft way I tell them that I'm a LinkedIn expert. Social interaction, react to people. LinkedIn does like it very much when you applaud other people. Tell them they're good. Ask them questions when they post something, and be interested and be social as you do in your normal life as well. Number 4 is credibility. Credibility is very important. Let people tell about you and let them tell how good you are in your profession or with your products. Nothing works better than have people telling about you. Make sure you are credible. Make sure you are someone they can trust. And if so, they will start doing business with you, because that's what you want to. You want to do business with someone you can trust. And that is what this is all about. Posting on regular basis. When you do that, you will be seen. You create your own visibility. No one else can do that for you. Be authentic. Post on a regular basis. Make sure you're visible and use the 4 steps I said before. Make sure you tell about your stories. Make sure you tell about your product. Make sure that other people tell about you. Make sure that your credibility, and having other people telling about you is also the referrals. LinkedIn has this beautiful referral list on your LinkedIn page where you can ask people to refer you, to tell about you, what you are and what you deliver, and if it's good. Work hard every day on your credibility, because that's the way you're going to sell your products and your services. Time well spent. Connect, connect, connect. It's on LinkedIn all about sharing, connecting, and growing together. Make sure you connect with other people. And not just push the button connect, but also put a question out there. Send a message with your connection request. That works the best. That's when people do connect with you and would like to connect with you. And it's all about that. So share your knowledge, connect with people, and make sure you grow together. That's with the vision and the mission of LinkedIn. And when you do that well, LinkedIn will make sure that your posts get seen by a lot more people. That's also the algorithm of LinkedIn you have to crack. And you crack it by sharing, connecting, and growing with the people that you're connected to. That's how it works on LinkedIn. So it's all about social selling. You don't want hard selling. We are not telling today that you have to buy this, blah, blah, blah. You know, the sell television things. That's not going to work on LinkedIn. It's social selling. It's about connection. It's being social to other people, and it's about telling stories. It's all about inbound marketing. Inbound marketing is the soft way to get people to be a customer. Inbound marketing is telling stories from out of your company about the people that work for you, about you, about about what your product solves for other people, and the stories that your buyers will tell you or will tell other people about your product. So no hard sales, no spamming. Be social, be nice on LinkedIn. It's a very loving community on LinkedIn, and that's what it really like. There's always a positive buzz on LinkedIn. Let's see. And I can't tell it much enough. So it's gonna and it's a repeat maybe, but because I really want you to know that this is what it's all about. It's about building relations based on expertise, building your brand as a person to go to for a certain topic. What's your knowledge? What's your product? What do you want to be known for? I am known as the online visibility person. I am known as the LinkedIn trainer. What's your knowledge? What's your product? Why should people go to you? And if you know that, start telling that. Start telling about your product and start telling about your vision, your mission, the stories about your products. Give them information and make sure that your credibility is high. First rule, focus on your ideal client. Start talking to your ideal client on LinkedIn. What problems are you solving for them? How many options are there within your product range or your service that you're giving them? And always, let's give me another tip. When you want to write content for your client and on LinkedIn, first, a lot of people ask themselves the question, what should I post? What shall I post today on LinkedIn? No, you always have to think about what knowledge would my customer need to grow? What information can I share? What knowledge can I share to make sure other people grow in their business, etc.? Because when you share a lot of knowledge, they will come back to you and they will buy from you. That is really something very important. So always focus on your ideal client. And as we talked before, is that 50% of the buyers have made a decision already, and they were influenced by the knowledge that you are sharing online, and they decide based on that knowledge to buy from you. And they're gonna call you, but at first they will have Googled a bit about your products, about you, about who you are on LinkedIn, and you better be out there. And that's also what says here, 50% of the buyers have made a decision about whether they're going to buy from you before you ever had a sales meeting or call. And how is that? Because they looked online. You can influence this buying process online by being visible. And as we do business with people, people do look for people on LinkedIn to see where you have to offer them. This means also that Google and LinkedIn are very good friends. Google your name on Google. And when you are on LinkedIn, you will see that the LinkedIn profile will hit in the 1 to the 3rd first places on the Google results. So that's why your profile is so important. Your LinkedIn profile has to be professional as your business is. Also use the right keywords. When you use the right keywords on your LinkedIn profile, and keywords are words that people are looking for to get to you, to your product or your service. When you're a marketeer, you used to use the word marketeer a couple of times in your profile. When you're a plumber, use the word plumbing a couple of times in your profile. But really use the words that you think that your ideal client is going to use, not the words that you think that should tell all about you. That's something that I train a lot when people come to me for this profile optimization training. They have in their header director. Okay, so you're a director. Good. You had a great career probably. But what are you going to solve for me? Which problem are you going to solve? Get that? Think about that. How to optimize your profile. There are a lot of things to optimize your profile, but the first question I want to ask you before you start doing this is, would you do business with yourself at this moment based on your LinkedIn profile? So one more time, would you do business with yourself based on your LinkedIn profile? And would you do business with yourself as being your ideal client based on your LinkedIn profile? If not, you have to work on your LinkedIn profile and do it today. 16 elements. Your name has to be right in there. You have to have a professional headline in which you will tell, not that you're the director and the owner of a company. Okay, If you have space enough, you can put it out there too. But you have to, first in your headline, make sure that people get to know right away what problem you will solve for them. I help entrepreneurs being online visible by implementing my COVA method. This is what I tell on LinkedIn. What's your story? What are you going to solve for them? And if you know, put it in your headline. Put a professional picture out there. Please don't hide behind wine glasses, vacation pictures with sunglasses, etc. Make sure you have a professional profile that will attract people. I will tell you one more story. As human beings, we decide within 3 to 4 seconds, 4 to 5 seconds maybe, whether we like someone or not, whether we would like to do business with someone. What if someone gets to your LinkedIn profile and you are there with a black picture or a white picture or bad lights, big sunglasses, etc., etc.? That's not a professional image. That's not what they think. Okay, that might be someone to do business with. Think about that. Keep that in mind all the time. Sure? Good. Header image. Use the header image behind your profile picture to show your products, to show your message, to show the problem you're solving. Use it as a restaurant uses the menus outside. It helps also in this split-second decision that people are going to make whether they want to do business with you or not. Use the about section, good. Tell about it. But start with the 3 sentences in the about section because it's very important. I'm going to show you later because when people go scroll through LinkedIn, the only thing they're going to see is the first 3 sentences of your about section. Make sure that you, in these 3 sentences, make sure that you connect with your ideal client. What problem are you going to solve? Where do they have a headache from or may have their sorrow? What's their pain? What's their pain? Describe it in these 3 sentences and your solution. So, pain and solution and where they're going to get it. And how they're going to get it. How can they get in contact with you? So in the about section, always end with your phone number and your email address. So people can connect with you right away. Use of keywords. Use the words, as I said before, that you think your customer is going to look for to get to your products or your service. Make sure your work experience is there because that's going to give you a lot of expertise. Put it down there. Media links. Use the links to your website, to interviews, to YouTube videos, whatever will stand out your personal brand and your product brand. Use it. Voluntary experience, etc., awards, projects, all will help you build your personal brand and your expertise. Make sure your contact details are good. Public URL. Check it. Skills and endorsements, and of course there is the recommendations. Ask people to recommend you. Ask them, and you can also recommend them if you're satisfied with what they delivered or what they gave you. These recommendations are very important. You can tell about yourself that you're the best and that you're absolutely good at what you do, but it's even better that other people tell about you and that they think you're a pro in what you do. Really, this is how to optimize your profile. There's 16 elements, and if you have them all right and all good there, you will have an all-star status. When you have an all-star status on LinkedIn, it means that LinkedIn will show your posts to more and more people because they want you to do well, and they provide you with a lot of people seeing your posts at the moment when you have an all-star status. So start building it. today. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Let me see something. This is one of the people I coached, and she had a very dull profile. And we worked on her profile and we said, okay, Veronique, what are you doing? Well, I do help powerful women build their business and taking the lead and taking back control in their business and personal life. And we worked out this. And you know, this is where the message is. The message is very powerful. This is what her mission is. And you see it also in her headline here. I help female business owners and business leaders taking back control in their business and personal life. How powerful. Just one glance and you know what this is all about, why you can go to Veronique. How is your LinkedIn profile? Just as powerful? This is the About section about me. And I start, of course, I'm sorry, it's in Dutch, but this is what it says. You know, as an entrepreneur that you want to have to be online, but it does take you a lot of time to look it up all by yourself and do it all by yourself. Stop, you don't have to. I figured it all out for you and the online marketing strategy, technique, and inspiration. And within 3 to 6 months, I will teach you how to put on your online marketing in 3 sentences, all clear, all happy, and people will know right away what I offer you. Then I talk about this project and how they get that, and I end with my phone number and my mail address. Put it out there. It's really important. Of course, I use words that I know entrepreneurs would use to find my service. It's about saving time. It's about not having to figure out all the techniques yourself, because I know by research that that is what entrepreneurs are looking for, someone who figured it all out for them and is going to teach them easy. What's your proposition? What's the problem that you are going to solve for your ideal client? What product or which service you have? Tell it about them. Tell the world about it. This is one more example. This boy was looking for a job, and he finished his education, and he asked, okay, Colette, can you help me with my LinkedIn profile, and can you help me with finding a job? Of course, finding a job you have to do yourself, but I do know how to help you with communication that might give you a good lift to the job that you want. We did this, and he was looking for a job. He wants to work with younger people who do have some problems, etc., etc. And we just said in his header, I'm looking for a job in this area, and I'm looking for a job in the area in the Netherlands called Midden-Brabant, Limburg. And we also said that we put it down there in the header. Within a couple of days, we had 16,000 views on this message, just by putting out there the right words and the right picture, etc., etc. He had the job. Let me tell you, he had a list of 3 companies that he wanted to work for, and there's one company that I really, really wanted to work for, but he said, Colette, that might be too early for me because I'm just starting, and it's my goal to work there in about, well, maybe 5 years. You know what happened? He got this job at this company where he thought he would only be ready for in 5 years. That's the power of LinkedIn. It was shared major times, because people do care about each other on LinkedIn. And this is the power of LinkedIn. We do care, we share knowledge for free, we want to grow together. And he still works there. He's a very happy man. This might be a difference also in short, and it's still in Dutch, but I'll tell you about it. This is the difference. Madelon came to me, Colette, we're starting a new business and I need your help with my LinkedIn profile because I want to get the world to know what we're doing. Okay, we'll do that. We sat together for a couple of hours and this was where we started. And it said that she is a co-owner of Personali and a co-owner of Rumat. Okay, and for the further, nothing. We worked on this and we said, okay, let's see. Personali was the new product she was going to do. It's an online platform for sharing hours within companies. Well, all details. But what she did was that she said, okay, it's for people who have a company, and it's for over hours people within smaller company. And it's a new way of working, which is said here. So we had a complete good message, and we sat down together for 3 hours to make this all work out, not just this, but the whole profile. And then I went back to my office, and I came back to my office, which is only 5 minutes away from her office. And I came back and I looked at my telephone, and there were 5 missed calls. Okay. All from Madelon. And she said, Colette, it's unbelievable. Within those 5 minutes, I have 3 new leads because we communicated the right way what I'm looking for and what I can solve and what I can bring to other people for their work. That's just what it's all about on LinkedIn. And I love that. Yeah. Same here. She's a lawyer. Ellen is a good lawyer. She's a specific lawyer in a specific area, and she did not have that right here. And we made it up, and we said, okay, this is their branding. There are 3 women together, and they're a specialist in family law. And we all talked about this through and made this work. And they're going like crazy right now, because the world knows now where they have to go for their family law issues. It's all about branding, and it's all about bringing the good story. So we're almost at the end of the LinkedIn masterclass, and I really hope that I convinced you about being there online on LinkedIn. Who are you talking to? Connect, and start now. Start implementing all the tips that I gave you. Start working on your professional profile. Make sure you start connecting with the people who are your ideal clients. And start connect with each other, because you never know when someone is in your network what's around their network. You connect to one people, not just one, but you connect to hundreds of more people. So don't be scared to connect to people. Start now, start doing it today, and LinkedIn is your next step in growing your company. I'm really convinced of that. And I know it works, because it worked for me and it worked for all the people that I train. I really want you to start today. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. If you want to know more, you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do so. It's Colette Elting right here. And please feel free to contact me for any training or consultancy. We can do this online as we do it right now. Go to my website, www.coletteelting.com. It's in Dutch, unfortunately, but you can always mail me at colette@comma.cc, and I'll get back to you. And I will hope, and I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn right now. Please send me a LinkedIn connection right now. I wish you all good luck with your company and hope to see you someday, somewhere online. Have a nice day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Onomusi. I am the CEO of VN Sync, and it is such a pleasure to be here with you today at the European E-commerce and Digital Marketing Week. Today, we're going to be talking about branding and driving transformation and innovation through digital communication. We're going to talk about how we digitize what is essentially a very human process and how we still ensure that we give our clients great satisfaction while optimizing results and the end goal for the brands or the services that we either own or we might be managing. I'm going to do this through a series of slides. This is only going to take about 20 to 30 minutes, and we're going to have time for some questions at the end. So just bear with me, and I'm going to share my screen right now, and we're going to get right into it. Fantastic. So once again, like I said, my name is Rachel Onomusi. I am the CEO of VN Sync, and I can be reached on my handles as down in the bottom left of the screen there. I'm going to go straight to the first slide where we talk about communicating great branding. Ashley Friedland says brand is the sum total of how someone perceives a particular organization. Branding is therefore about shaping that perception. When we think about all the things that go into creating great branding, we find out that it's a surprisingly human journey. Great brands guide the customer's expectations of our offering. They create clarity on what we sell, where we sell them, and when we sell them. They create a meaning around a particular product or service. Well, why do I need it? Why is it important? Is it a status object or is it an essential object? What would my life be like without this product? Next, great branding positions your pricing or your offering. Is it a reassuringly exclusive and expensive product, or is it a more accessible offering? Finally, great branding creates great customer connection built on trust and loyalty. When I start to see certain brands over and over again, I know what to expect and I am loyal to that brand. I will rather try that brand than a brand I've never heard of before. Of course, there are other benefits for the company, such as great branding helps define your target audience better for you. Once you know exactly who you are, what you stand for, and the kind of audience you're trying to attract, it makes it easier to create an exemplar and market to that socio-demographic band. It affects the kind of staff you attract. So do you have a transient work staff or do you have a more permanent work staff that have been with you for a few years? It builds a solid business culture and it demonstrates your value. So we tend to think about startups and fintechs as a more casual, more laid back uh, um, scenario where they're quick with innovation and speed of turning things around, and they bootstrap a lot of their offering because they're constantly thinking outside the box and working at pace. And then we think about an investment bank and we think of a more staid culture, a more conservative culture, conservative attire, and new ideas have to go through a certain hierarchy before they're eventually greenlit and they can proceed and become a part of company culture. Finally, great branding helps fine-tune your business model and guides innovation efforts. Once you know exactly what your brand is, you can then guide your innovation in the right direction so that you stay true to your core offering. Once these things are in place, it helps steer the boat better during the time of disruption. The core of the brand remains the same. All that happens is we rethink business to drive innovation and transformation through disruption to come out on the other side. So we've all seen a few brands who have suffered as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the consequent lockdown. A lot of businesses that have thrived have done so because they knew at their core exactly what their brand was and what it represented. There are two ways of using digital communications to work through branding to come out on the other side after a disruption. It is to reimagine the customer journey and to rethink customer engagement with technology. So the first one is that we take data-driven strategy and digital expertise to restructure customer experience through new technology. Same customer, same product. How do we use technology to create a better experience? And the next thing is to plan how to use technology to engage with the customers. It's not technology for technology's sake. It's not throwing everything at the board to see what sticks. What can you automate? What can AI do for you? What can be done remotely? What innovations can you employ to understand how customers are engaging with your brand? There's a three-step process to innovation and digital transformation, and then how you use digital communications to push this towards your customer. The first is to identify the problem that needs to be solved. You need to identify the business outcomes you want to achieve through innovation or digital transformation. Doing this starts with ensuring you have a strong innovation in place and the strong innovation culture in place in the first place. The second is to build a culture with capabilities. You need to use hands-on customized experiences and tools that can quickly be learned by individual contributors, teams, team members, and even the senior leaders. So by this, I mean, once you've identified the problem and you're thinking about a solution, you have to embed a culture of innovation, a culture where it's okay to say, we're not doing this way anymore. We're actually doing it this way instead. We're going to try this. We're having teamwork. We're iterating. We're getting feedback from the customers, and we are actually acting on that feedback. The third is to extend impact. The preferred result is both a unique practice and one that supports the journey and helps brands to develop muscle memory. So you now start acting differently and thinking differently about your products and your offering in such a way that it sticks, giving all the team members confidence and the habits developed or needed to develop and spread an innovation culture across the firm. So I'm going to put this into practical example now by using one of the case studies that we actually worked on. So Access Bank, which is one of the largest banks in Africa, sponsored a marathon in Lagos, which is not quite the capital city of Nigeria, but it's certainly the most, it's the hub of the country, if you like. And what they'd initially done on their first outing of this marathon was to simply think of it as a marathon where people need to come run, and then they give them a gift, a prize offering at the end of it. And in the first year, they got less than 700 signups. And this was out of the 700 signups, about half, roughly half, showed up on the day. It was considered a failure, and our agency was brought in to help increase the numbers. And because it was being sponsored by a bank, a lot of the thoughts or the solutions during the brainstorming processes went towards, oh, we just need to increase the prize money. Maybe if we give people more money, they would be incentivized to run, because nobody could understand how the idea of a marathon was so foreign that people didn't want to partake in it. What we did was to go back to the drawing board. Well, what's the problem? How do we create awareness amongst the people who have never traditionally seen marathons as part of their lifestyle? In East Africa, marathons are nothing new. But in West Africa and Nigeria, it was unheard of. And when people found out that they had to run 42 kilometers, it blew their mind. Why would I run 40? I've never run 42 kilometers in my life. Why would I do this? And there's no amount of money you could pay me that would make me run 42 kilometers. Those who came for the money very quickly realized that without the adequate training, they simply they couldn't get past the quarterway mark or the halfway mark. So we turned the idea on its head and we revolutionized it. And instead we concentrated on creating a health and fitness lifestyle, which was something that was perhaps not alien to the States at the time, but certainly wasn't as far reaching or as far flung as it is in other cities and other countries around the world. And we started creating small groups of workout people who could meet if they lived within the same region or the same locality, and they could work out together. We started partnering with fitness apps and getting them to talk about the marathon and talk about what people could do if they wanted to run a marathon, and how they built stamina slowly across the months leading up to the marathon. We talked about fitness tips, drinking plenty of water, ditching junk food for fruit and vegetables, and eating properly, and some of the great marathon runners and what their tips were and how they did it and how they go through. And we created such an inclusive community where we had children and adults that everybody soon heard about this great fitness craze sweeping the state, and everyone wanted to be involved. The outcome of that was not only that we increased sign up by over 800%, we found so many eager and interested young people who were willing to participate, and we couldn't have them participate in a marathon simply because an accredited marathon has certain rules. So we had no choice but to create a further run, which we call the 10-kilometer fun run, that includes adults and very young children, anybody who was interested in keeping fit. So if you were not qualified to run a marathon, maybe for age reasons or for health reasons, you could certainly join the 10-kilometer fun run. And then something went from being just alien and so I don't know what this is. I don't why on earth would I run this race to an event that was heavily anticipated, heavily looked forward to every single year and oversubscribed, as well as the 10-kilometer run, also oversubscribed. You can see on the picture on the far right, there's a much elderly man who's actually dancing. So this is one of the few aerobics and stamina clubs that we had going on, all linked to the marathon. You can see the stadium there in the background. The young girl on the bottom left of the picture her poster says, "Never too small for big dreams." She was a part of the 10-kilometer fun run because she was just too young to be part of the 42-kilometer marathon. And we communicated all of this through social media. We had Facebook Live events where teams got together and ran in small numbers. So they just did 10-kilometer runs or 8-kilometer runs or 20-kilometer runs as they trained leading up to the marathon. We used digital marketing and research and analysis to fine-tune the demographics, and we started speaking specifically to people in Nigeria. We had runners and athletes coming from outside of the country because they'd heard there was this amazing event that happened every year, and it was a celebration of health and fitness and exertion and good life, as opposed to, if you can manage to run this race, then you've got yourself some prize money. And this is how we turned around a brand that couldn't get subscribers or signups to something that was oversubscribed, but more importantly, anticipated and wanted, as opposed to being driven simply by financial. The number of people who ran the marathon just to get their medal at the end of the race and say, "We did it." And we had entire films made out of the most unlikely winners, and they're all winners, whether or not they won the prize money. They changed their diets, they changed the way that they saw life, they incorporated exercise and running, and they came on the day every year and they ran and they finished the race and they felt incredibly proud of themselves. And there are companies doing this all across the world, across various sectors, when we think about how you can harness digital communications to empower, embolden, enhance your brand's offering. So when we're thinking about the post-pandemic pivot, how we drive growth with digital communications, the first thing is going online. We see so many brands who previously weren't online now doing more and more to get online. We have health classes, fitness classes, yoga classes. From the comfort of your home, people were paying subscriptions that they would normally have paid to gyms to be able to work out. What this means for smaller brands and sole person brands is that they could actually have exercise, they could actually train their classes from the comfort of their home if they were previously unable to compete with the larger gyms in the local neighborhoods. Restaurants got on Grubhub, they got on Just Eat, they got on Uber Eats and started offering takeaways. Some of them started cooking in bulk. So you could order a curry, a 5-liter container of curry from your favorite Indian, as opposed to just the one meal for the Friday night. Telemedicine also enjoyed a surge when non-critical ailments were being treated virtually, and you could speak to your GP or your doctor over a video interface, and you could get healthcare with the same ease as it would take you if you walked into your clinic. The second is social commerce. We saw Facebook and Instagram shopping, social videos. We saw TikTok campaigns. We saw businesses have the best years of their retail life just because they went online, just because they harnessed the power of social commerce. Shops like Clues transformed their social feeds into shopping windows. They encouraged giveaways. Burberry encouraged the beautiful video footage where they turned the bags at 360 degrees, and you could see inside of the purses, and you could see the outside of the fabric and the trousers, so crisp and so clear you felt like you could almost touch them. Sephora didn't just create content, they wanted to create an experience. So you felt as though you were walking through a Sephora shop, and you were doing all of this from the comfort of your home. Finally, artificial intelligence and machine learning came through in customer service, chatbots and voice prompts. I know there are many states in America that use this to great effect when their social services lines were inundated by hundreds of thousands of calls per day. And they relied on voice prompts to get people through to the most essential information. When am I going to get my social security check? When am I going to get my stimulus check? I am 52 and I can't go out. How do I get my shopping? All of these questions were being handled by states through voice recognition software and voice recognition solutions when they simply did not have enough humans to man the phones. So pivoting is possible. It's difficult, it takes planning, it takes strategy, but it is possible, and it creates a whole new world of possibilities. A great company that I would like to talk about is John Deere. John Deere is the brand name of Deere & Company, an American corporation that manufactures agricultural, construction, and forestry machinery, diesel engines, drivetrains used in heavy equipment, and lawn care equipment. Not the sexiest of brands, I'll grant you. They've been around for 180 years, and they're a pretty conservative company and a risk-averse approach to PR and communications. They prioritize content distributorship, wanting to make sure that their branches in places as far-flung as China and Turkey had images of tractors and lawnmowers and heavy machinery than they did over anything else. So what do you do when your biggest buyers can't come to your showroom to see what new tractors you've got, what new agricultural implementation you can offer them? You focus on relationship building and two-way engagement. Pictures like the one I've got with the cute little boy and the little chicken on top of his little John Deere tractor are one of the pictures from their Facebook page. They went down a route where they created a more human interaction with their clients. They were clearing, saying, we're an 180-year-old company. If we're going to be around for the next 180 years, we will have to continue introducing the latest technologies and innovation. One of those technologies and innovation include using social media effectively to keep clients engaged, interested, have their phone number out there, have their contractors or their sales team talking to potential clients, as well as increasing business opportunities with existing clients, and doing that over the phone or over a video call. They had Zoom conferences, and they maximized their use of social media and digital communication and digital marketing, looking into the lives, just as this little boy and his dad in the background, of a lot of their customers, and bringing out the, once again, the humanity of what it is that they do. This is a fantastic example of a company that might not necessarily be in fashion or be one of the sexier brands. Might be easy to take a new purse to market. How do you market a 180-year-old company that sells forest machinery? John Deere showed us how, by showing a small boy and a chicken. Finally, I want to end by saying change is inevitable, but growth is intentional. The pandemic might have been a horrific disruption and pause in our lives. And there will be others, maybe not as traumatic. But the world does change. We have to decide if we're going to change with it. We have to decide if we're going to grow. We have to decide if we are going to adjust ourselves to the prevailing winds so that we can thrive. Make a decision and work out the best way to move forward. Your brands depend on you to get it right. Thank you very much. Once again, I'm Rachel Onomusi. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. There's so many fantastic speakers, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more and more as we go along. Thank you very much, and thank you for being a part of my conversation today.